1.
Good morning, uh, Kak Yosua Tunas. My name is Prajito layanto, and I'm today will give you my suggestion or um, suggestion or things aspects that I believe you should improve in the story. And first of all, uh, I want to talk about the setting you use in your story because as of right now, I believe that the use of your setting in the story is not efficient. It's not as in not optimal because the idea of or the places you are using in the story feels like there's no connection between them. It feels like there's no proper explanation and just one place going to another place. The only explanation I read from the story that makes sense about the setting of the place you're using is when the main character goes to a customer's place and to hand in some or to hand in some order, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, the school setting doesn't really make any sense, at least to me. And the other aspect I would believe that you should improve in the story is that you should use an extensive proofreading before handing out your story as a final victory, because as of right now, I believe that proofreading would be more likely would be required in order to make your story a lot better. Speaking of proofreading, here are some suggestions or corrections I believe would be necessary. These are examples of corrections or suggestions I believe would improve your story. There is this line in your story which mentions something in the line which mentions the line of scholarship she received from the government because she big scholarship she received from the government because of her classiness. I believe it would be make a lot more sense if you write something like this. Scholarship she had gotten from the government through hard work. And another example of corrections I would point out is the line where she says she felt that she was inappropriate at the school because she was often bullied by her friends because of her scholarship assistance to enter the school. Now, this line gives me a little bit of difficulty in a sense that there were wo- there were two because with one sentence, and I don't think it would make any sense. And instead, I proofread it and rewrite it as something like this. She was feeling not measuring up or inadequate and often bullied at school by her friends because of the scholarship status. Uh, I would I would argue this line would be a lot much better, a lot better than what you just wrote previously. And there were some grammar mistakes as well. For example, there's a line that you mentioned, something like by working as a waiter for a restaurant, and the correct grammar for it would be by working as a writer, by working as a writer at a restaurant. So it's not for a restaurant, it's more like at a restaurant. Uh, the explanation I would give for this is would be something like a doctor working at a hospital. It's, it would mean, it would make a lot more sense to say a doctor who works at a hospital instead of a doctor working for a hospital. It sounds archaic and doesn't really fit. And there was this word, and another line I would fix is that there's this line, uh, when she was amazed at the greatness of the house, came an old woman who opened a large iron fence. I rewrite this sentence, I proofread this sentence into something a lot more shorter and hopefully a lot more understandable as well. And it is something like while she was admiring at the, while she was admiring the house, an old lady opened the gate. I think the line I provide would be more simple and understandable. And lastly, the the suggestion or correction I would suggest is that when she was praying, she says something like this: God, maybe my family doesn't have as much money as William's family, but one thing I'm thankful, I was able to eat today with my family with laughter, and I ate but without any warmth in the food. Now, the last part of this sentence uh, really having me, really giving me a difficult time to understand, just because I ate without any warmth in the food, and it just doesn't really mean anything. And instead, I'll write it something like this: Thank you, God. Perhaps my family is not as wealthy as their family, but I am already grateful to have a joyous meal with my family rather than a cold platter of meal without any warmth. I believe those are my input, my suggestions for your story. In conclusion, I would prefer for you to focus on two things: uh, wording, three things. Sorry, wording, grammar, and the explanations of setting. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Prajito, for your suggestion and comment from my story. So, about your story, shape of happiness. But your story, I think you're good in make a story, in create a story. Um, your story tells about a single mother who has child with a brain cancer, and she is willing to fulfill the happiness of her child before her child leaves from her. And I think your story is perfectly with the given theme regarding happy family. It seems, and about your story, the good your story, it seems like interesting that content of the story is because happy family tends to be the same thing as a happy side, but you mix the opposite story so as to create the meaning of happiness without a good life. Uh, and then the aspect units to improvement. I think perhaps it could be improved from the story settings of place without saying the place, but you can describe the atmosphere of the place. You can maybe adding some explanation of the Zeus place, such as what was heard, what was smelled, and what was seen. For example, like your story can be like, today I went out with my family to go on vacation, and there are a lot of sound of various animals, the smells of excrement, and there are also some people who take care of these animals by cleaning the cage, some things like that. And a suggestion for you, maybe you can more improve to giving a sense in your story so reader can maybe more enjoy to read your story. I think it's enough for me.
Thank you.
Thank
Uh,
you.